Hi, and welcome to our webinar on Jim2 reports. These webinars are designed to surface information that you may not know, and as such, we'll be going right back to basics for each topic to make sure that you're all fully informed of each section. In the future, we could cover topics like email and how it can be best set up, best practice in retail setup and workflow, and using scheduling and timesheets to help track labor hours. At the end of each session, we'll have a Q&A in which you can type any question you like into chat. I'll also mention that the demo today is taking place in the soon to be released Jim2 version 4.4. So if there are any features you spot that are unfamiliar, you should see them when you update Jim2. So let's get started on today's topic, Jim2 reports. So today we're going to take a look at some reports in Jim2. We'll have a look at some settings and different types of reports that you might find useful in your business. First off, I'll make a distinction between the report section in management and the report section found in the different section of most tabs. The drop-down will show reports based on which object you have selected. If you have a quote selected, it will show reports related to quotes. If you have jobs selected, it will show reports related to jobs. You could describe the reports in the dropdown as functional reports. These reports tend to be more context sensitive depending on what object you have open. Now, before we take a look at an example of a functional report, I thought I'd show you a trick I do to help me work out what field shows up where on the reports. I've written in each field that I can, this is, and then the field that it is in. So when we start looking at reports, we can easily see which field will show up where. Given that some of you may have customized reports, this can be handy to see if there are any fields that may or may not be included in those reports too. So we've got some dummy information on this job. Let's open a pro forma invoice. So here we can see where the fields we've mocked information into have appeared. You might notice that this form has color on its headings as well. We'll get into why in just a little bit. Now, let's say we want to report on a group of jobs. We can use a list and then look in the drop down from the list page to see what reports are available. I do plan to do a full webinar on lists in the near future, but for now, we can build a simple list based on who has a job completed last month. Click Create Job List. Select the Advanced tab at the bottom. Set the Date Out section to last month, and then untick Active Jobs and tick Invoice Jobs, and then click Run. When we're happy that these are the results that we're looking for and don't need to adjust the filters anymore, we can give the list a name, click the pin at the top, and run again to finalize. Now that we have a list that is saved and shows any job that was completed last month, if we look at the report job list email list, you can see all the email addresses associated with the main contacts on these jobs. But let's take it a step further. Let's say we want to email all the customers in this list. From the same list we've created, we can select Email from Job List. You will need to have had made an email template to use this function. You can select it from the top drop-down. You can override the subject that's set against the template, and you can add a subject token. A subject token will allow any reply emails to come back into Jim2. You can choose whether to send to only the primary contact or all the contacts, or you can choose a particular contact type. You'll recognize the contact types from the card file contacts page. If we select primary contact, you'll see a list of recipients in the bottom window. You can now refine this list by removing entries using the minus arrow. You can click preview to make sure that any macros you're using have populated correctly and that you're happy with how your email looks before it goes out. Be sure to close this window instead of sending. When you're happy with it all, you can click send. If you are concerned about sending too many emails too quickly and being flagged as a spammer, you can check the settings in Tools, Options, Other, and Email. And in here is a setting max emails per minute. A rough guide to avoid a spam flag would be to set it to about 8 emails per minute maximum. To finish up this topic, I wanted to let you know that this functionality is available from jobs, as you've seen, but also from quotes, card files, and even projects. I will have a link to help you check out more on bulk emails at the end of the information session. Now, you may have noticed that nearly all of my reports have V2 next to them. You might have even seen these in your own instance of Jim2. I wanted to take a second and explain what a V2 report is and why you may wish to use it. The V2 report has one main addition, and that is color. If we take a look at the job list backorder report and hit preview, we can see that the top line is in black and white. If we open the version 2 of the same report, we can see that's now coming through in blue. If you go to Tools, Options, and General, you can see the option for color of the report in this box on the right. From here, you can choose any color that suits your company's branding to then be displayed on the V2 reports. I like a nice green, so we'll choose that. And when we go back to the same report, you can see the previous blue has been replaced by green. Now, let's say we want to take a look at some information about how the business is performing. I will caveat this by saying that there are security settings that can allow or disallow user profiles from accessing the upcoming section. The person that administrates Jim2 within your business should be able to change these settings, but if you're having trouble, please give our support line a call. So if we go to the management and then reports section, we'll find a set of folders that contain informative reports. These reports are designed to give information about the business as opposed to the function-based reports in the drop-downs. Today, I thought I'd highlight some reports that I think you'll find handy for your business, as well as show you the filter options available on them. Inside the stock reports folder, we can find several reports related to the value of stock. I personally like the stock valuation by COGS report, as it gives you a total cost for your held stock, including freight and any other costs you've assigned to it. If we double click, we can see some options or filters appear for the report. Because this is a valuation report, we have some filters around which stock we might want to include in the valuation. I'd like to see all my stock, but if you select selected stock, you can choose a single item. If you choose selected group, you can then select a group of items to perform it on. You can click on the ellipses and then select the group to limit the report to. Be aware that there are tabs at the top of this window that could contain more groups. To keep the conversation simple today, we will select the real stock value and include both depleting and special stock. Once our filters are set, you can click OK and the report will generate. As you can see, we now have a report that shows each stock item we have, as well as the quantity in stock, the average cost of goods sold, and the value. The next report I'd like to show is found in Stock Profit Details folder. And this one's called Stock Profit by Customer. Start by double clicking the report. And as you can see, a different sort of filter window pops up and it has a few different features. Starting from the top, we can filter by customer or item if we choose. Fairly self-explanatory as to how to use these fields, so we can move on. The next section is filtering the report to only look at particular jobs. This allows you to set a date range or any of the other options that you see. You can set a fixed date range if you wish to find out information for a one-off report, say between the first of the month and today. But I'd like to be able to use a set of filters that can be used again. So instead of setting a fixed date range, we can set a relative date range by clicking the black arrow above the range fields. I'll just take a second to describe what I mean by a relative date range. This essentially means a set of dates relative to today or whenever you run the report. If you choose this month, the report will give you back information about the month you are in whenever you run the report. Now, I would like to see profit by customer from any job that has occurred in the last month. So we click last month. As I mentioned, you can also limit it to the type of job, the owner of the job, the account manager, or even if it was sale or service. Next, we can limit to only particular stock filters also. I don't want to limit it at this time, but as you can see, there are the options here. One important filter to mention though is filter by margin. This can be helpful if you believe that your business is running at, say, 20% margin. You can set this to less than or equal to 20%, and it will find any items that are not making that percentage that you can then address. Now, before we push OK, I want to point out two more features on this screen. The first is if you type a name in the box in the bottom left and click Save, you will save this set of filters that can be used at another time. That's why setting a relative date earlier was important. What we here, what we have set here at the moment means whenever we access this, it will look at the previous month's jobs. For best results, you can enter a name that is meaningful to the filter, but not to the report. For example, I currently have the filter to only look at last month's jobs, but include everything else. So I will call this last month and press save. As you can see, we've gotten a new entry in the hierarchy of folders or reports behind it. The safe set of filters is much like a folder system in that they appear in tiers under the report. This means you'll always know which set of filters are for which report, so long as you give them that meaningful name. Now, one last thing I wanted to point out on this screen is the ability to generate the report directly into Excel. To do this, all you need to do is tick the Data Only checkbox, and it will generate as an Excel file rather than a PDF. So here we can see each of our items and who purchased them, the quantity sold, and the value, including other financial information as well. I'd like to show you one last report, and it's called Top X Customers. This report is great for you to see which of your customers are spending the most at your business. As you can see, we've got the date options again, including the relative dates. We can select how many customers we want to include in the report. Also choose to do this by the sold value or the profit made on the sales. Again, there are filters based on which kind of stock. So you could, in fact, select a stock and see which customer had spent the most on it. You can also choose Account Manager, which can be great for individual account managers to learn more about their client base. You can also save the report filters here as well, so you don't need to recreate the same set of filters again and again. I won't actually generate this report. Oh, actually, I will. My apologies. Unfortunately, because it's a demo database, I've only got the one excellent customer, but you get the idea. We hope that you're using a variety of reports, but if not, we encourage you to review which Jim2 reports work best for you and your business. So today we covered the differences between functional reports and informational reports, different types of functional reports, options and filters of informational reports, and some great reports: stock valuation by COGS, stock profit by customer, and top X reports. So as you can see, there are a lot of standard reports available within Jim2 with lots of ways to see information about your business. We would highly recommend that you set up some stock profit reports for yourself and save them as I've shown you today to monitor what you're selling, who is buying, and that you're maximizing your margins. We also have something exciting coming up in the form of a partnership with a business intelligence provider. So keep an eye out for that over the next 6 months or so. Finally, I'd like to thank you for attending today. I'll leave some information on the screen about how you can get in touch with us, and I'll add some links to the chat about what we've talked about today. And now I'll introduce Steve Morris, who can answer any questions you might have about reports. Thank you.
Hi there, how you going? Thank you all for coming, and thanks Ash, that was fantastic. A really nice intro to our new webinars, and looking forward to doing some more. We've only got a couple of questions, so I'll go through them one by one. I won't try to answer every question, we'll see how we go. And there's a few that I think we might go back on and contact some of the users individually. So I'll start with one just in regards to how to reply to an email and also generate a report, it is a common question. And so I think whilst I can't demonstrate in front of you today, I'll explain how I would normally do it and what we would recommend. So first of all, let's say, for example, I had an email exchange with a customer and they wanted a pro forma invoice. I would, on that job, start the process of generating an emailed pro forma. I would then drag the attachment to the job and save it on the job. So I had a record against the job of that pro forma invoice. And then I'd reply and attach it using the normal document apply. So that's a very quick explanation. I probably should have organized to have access, Ash, and I don't know if I can from if you can share with me or not, but perhaps I could try and control.
You could request control.
Let's have a quick look. There you go. Let's see how that goes. And just approve for me. It might be easy to show you, that's all. Okay, so in this example, I would click on email, and this is probably a good thing to show you anyway. I can just drag that to Jim and let go. And that will now automatically attach the PDF or any document or any report that's been generated to the job. I'm then going to close that. So you'll see now it's here permanently. And then had there been an email here to reply to, there isn't. So I want to send an email that's related to that job. I can just hit related. And then because I had that attached, there's that there for me to attach. So I hope that answers your question, Natasha. There are ways to have emails automatically. We have some special scripting and some custom scripting that enable reports to be automatically added to replies under some circumstances. And we also have the email editor rules. So for example, as some of you may know, but in case you don't, while we're here, these templates, you can see here we've got one called reports webinar. They could have attachments by default. So if you wanted to send some predefined PDFs in an email, you can do that using that functionality. Second question here I was going to try and quickly handle was the top X. Does it show a customer as a group or just the card files? I assume you mean the customer as in, I might just, as in the customer grouping. So no, it is definitely based on just a list of customers and obviously grouping all of the sales that were made. It doesn't break it down by actual customer grouping. But if that's something you're looking for, certainly I would recommend you reach out to support. There are some options, and as Ash mentioned, with our new partnership with some data analytics that makes it much easier to slice and dice Jim data in a nice, easy way and create your own reports. So do look out for that, and if anyone's particularly interested in finding out more, let us know. Okay, which we've got here, which stock report ties back to the balance sheet accounts? I'm going to leave that one, Sonia, and I'm going to make sure that gets followed up by one of our BA specialist, just to make sure. It's a very broad question, so I might just leave that one alone for now. Thank you, Ash, for including some links. And how do we get the V2 reports? Okay, so to get the V2 reports, you need Jim2 4.4. And Jim2 4.4 is actually you'll probably see an email very soon. So anyone that's not in the MPS space will be getting an email to say that they're ready to upgrade to 4.4. If you're using Jim2 Cloud, we'll be contacting you to let you know that we're going to do that, and it won't be too long. We're already working with a number of MPS clients. 4.4 has been out running for some time, and it's a bit of a slower process with the MPS clients, but there's over 100 customers already on 4.4, and we've been using it for some time. I think that probably covers most of the questions. I'm sorry I haven't been able to give you all direct answers, but it's nice to meet you, and I appreciate you all coming. We're pretty excited to have over 100 people in our first webinar. I'll hand back to you, Ash, and again, do look out. I know this was fairly introductory, and I'm sure some of you are looking for more or hoping for possibly some more detail. Hopefully for those that are newer or didn't even realize some of these reports existed, it was of value, and certainly there'll be a lot more coming once a month. And back to you, Ash.
Thanks, Steve. So as I mentioned earlier, there will be a survey coming out soon that you can suggest ideas for webinar topics. Certainly for any questions that didn't get answered live today, I'll get them followed up with our support team and make sure that you get the answers that you're looking for. Okay, well, if you do have any further questions, by all means get in touch with our support department or myself, and yeah, we'll look forward to more webinars in the future. Thank you all for joining.